welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be talking with Ellen Goldfarb, and we're going to be talking, both of us, we realize as you guys are starting to think about doing videos and also doing, speaking from stage, giving presentations, that everyone, well, a lot of people might be feeling a little nervous about that. And some of you probably have a great deal of fear. And after talking with Ellen, we realized that we both really disliked the idea of ever speaking from the stage. I know for me personally, the idea of doing that was terrifying. I would have rather have given you my firstborn. So, they say that sometimes that speaking from stage is only second to, a couple of different great fears. Most people would say they'd rather just die than actually get up on stage and talk. So there's a lot of things that are going on. It's actually neurologically, there's a lot of reasons why people fear, getting on stage and talking. We all want to be accepted in the community, and that would allow us potentially to, feel like we're outcast or something. So there's a neurological reason why there's this fear as well. And, so today I wanted to talk to Ellen, and I'm going to interview her, and then she's going to interview me, and we're going to just talk and share with you our stories about how we have overcome this fear, because like everything else, this is a skill, and so it means it can be learned. And I always ask you to keep an open mind and fluid to what you believe your fears and phobias and things that are holding you back are, because they actually can be shifted and changed, and they can be changed pretty quickly. So hi Ellen, how are you today?
Hi Nell, I'm fine.
Great. Well, do you want to jump in and tell us, what was it like before you had ever spoken on stage? How did you kind of jump into that area where you did it? Why did you do it? And what were you feeling?
Well, I never would ever commit to ever talk on stage or in front of people. And it got to the point where even if I was in a group, I would never raise my hand. I wouldn't talk. I was basically somebody who was super shy and didn't say anything. And it finally got to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore. And I said, okay, enough. I'm going to try and learn and do something about it. So I was talking to my husband one day, and he said, well, why don't you go to Toastmasters? And I said, what's Toastmasters? And he explained. So I go. After connecting with a couple of Toastmaster clubs, and one in particular just was more warm and more welcome than the other.
Was this a recent thing? Like how many years ago, or how?
This was, I actually figured it out the other day. This was like 5.5 years ago.
Okay.
And I go, and I'm welcomed by the president of the club and the person of membership, vice president of membership. They were very, very friendly, and they welcomed me in, and they talked to me a little bit, and then I sat down. If somebody didn't talk to me, I didn't say a word. I was so scared. It's like, don't talk to me. I don't know what to say type of thing. And at that meeting, well, the whole premise of Toastmasters, when you go to a club, when you go to a meeting, is everybody talks. Mm-hmm. So they introduced me, and I spoke a little bit, and then the meeting went on, and there is this part of the meeting called Table Topics, and they asked me if I would participate. I said, oh no, not me, and I passed. Well, moving along, I guess I went for about 2 months, and they said, well, how about joining? And I said, okay. So I joined, and then I guess like a month later, they said, how would you like, everybody has little jobs, and the jobs change for every meeting. And they said, how about being timer? Because a Toastmaster, you learn how to talk within a certain period of time. And in order to do that, you are timed. So I was the timer. I had a stopwatch and followed the guidelines of being a timer. And I said, well, I don't know if I can do that because I can't do it perfectly. And everybody laughed. So I was a timer. And one of the members sat right beside me to give me confidence. So I did that, and I was surprised to find out that I did great. And I said, oh, I could be timer again. Then 2 months later, they asked me to give a speech. A speech? Are you crazy? I can't give a speech. It's almost like I came to watch everybody rather than to participate. So I wrote a speech. It took me, I said, okay, I'll do it in a month. So I wrote out a speech and I started practicing. Well, the day that I gave the speech, they introduced me, and I went up to the front, and oh my gosh, my legs felt like they were jello and like they just weren't going to support me. And my heart was like pounding out of my body. And I felt like I was literally talking through a horn. All of a sudden, my voice changed. Now, thank goodness, I was standing behind a lectern. So I had the support of this piece of wood in front of me that I could hold on to, which I did. And I gave the speech. The speech was about me. It was a personal part of me, of when I was in elementary school and then high school, and I found out that I was reading on a 5th grade reading level. So it was very, very personal, and how I overcame that.
Wow.
Well, after my speech, somebody in the audience said to me, I don't know why you're here. You're cool, calm, and collected. And I'm thinking to myself, cool, calm, and collected? She should only know what I was feeling.
Good, you can hide it.
Well, I guess so. So moving down the road, I was asked by the president, they needed a secretary. And she asked me if I would be secretary. I said, me, secretary? I can't be secretary. I said, the way I work, by the time somebody's on to the next thing, I'm still on the first point that has to be written down. I said, I can't be secretary. She said, sure you can. So I said, well, let me think about it. So I go home, and I sit myself down, and I said, Self, you want to step out of your comfort zone. You want to grow. This is the only way for you to grow. So I said, okay. I was very nervous. So I accepted the role as secretary. And she had said to me, it's really easy. It's a form. All you have to fill in is the information. There's nothing to write. And through the course of Toastmasters, I have given over 20 speeches.
Wow.
And I have gotten to the point where when I stand up, I'm more nervous before I give it than when I actually stand up there now. I get on in front of everybody, and all of a sudden, I have this confidence, and I don't have a problem. In fact, I was asked to give a speech. Our meetings are held on Friday. So somebody asked me if I would give a speech on Friday. This was on a Thursday. And the person who was evaluating me, I gave the speech, and she said to me, it's like you practiced for weeks. We couldn't tell.
That's great.
So I have no problems giving speeches, talking in front of people.
Good for you. So you
I have no problems doing a video. I have the confidence now. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot.
Right.
The do's and the don'ts and what's what's good and how to get my message across.
Good for you. That's
Thank
great that
you.
you were able to overcome that. My story is somewhat similar in a lot of ways. You know, like the idea of ever talking in public, you know, was awful. I remember growing up as a child, or actually when I was like in kindergarten and coming home and saying we had to talk, probably first grade, and my mother was like, "Oh my God, I hated that. That's like the worst thing ever." And she goes, "I used to vomit. I used to, you know," she just was
Oh
like, it was
my.
like the worst thing. So I was terrified right from the start of like, this is a really bad thing. And anytime that I had to give any kind of talks at school, I just felt awful and hated it, and you know, kind of grew up that way. But it's interesting, you know, I started, I guess, in 2005, 2006 when I started with my hypnosis, getting certified and doing several different trainings, and I really had this overwhelming desire to speak on stage, even though I was terrified, which made no sense because as a mom, like even just when you would have to say your name, like if I went to a, you know, a PTO meeting where, you know, the school association and
Mhm.
everything, and just waiting to say my name, my heart would be pounding out of my chest, you know, before they got to me. And it's not like I have a normal name anyway, so that kind of added to the mix of like, oh, now I got to say my name and nobody gets it, you know, from the first time on. And I actually became PTO president, co-president, and I talked to the woman and I said, I will never, you know, talk in front of the room. And she said, that's fine. You do all the work. I'll do all the talking. So, you know, terribly, I did all the work. And it cost me greatly because I, you know, did all the work and she would get up in front of everybody and talk, and everybody thought, you know, she was the president. And so I said, I've got to change this. And when I was doing the hypnosis certifications and things, I'd always work on that, you know, when I was